Welcome to Savor the Story podcast, where books and snacks are life. I'm Nicole.
I'm Vanessa, and I did not think of anything to say.
I knew if I said it really quick.
Yes, I told you to. I'll have it. So Tim, every time we go to eat, he'll like kind of see what he wants on the menu, and then as soon as the waiter walks up, he's like, I don't know, and then he just picks something random. That's how I feel every time we start the podcast. Like, as soon as you say the intro, I'm like, I don't know.
Who am I?
I don't know what to say.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yes.
I get that. Every time we're about to start, I have like my anxiety spikes and goes into red, and then it comes back down, and I'm like, okay. Oh yes, I know what I'm doing.
Yes, we're just conversating.
I
don't know why I said it like that.
Because that's what we're doing.
Yeah, conversating. Yes. So in a recording timeline, we just had Thanksgiving.
That is true.
The thing, if you will.
Thanksgiving is what I'm calling it now.
Okay, great. What are you going to call Christmas? Because that's still a thing if you thing it, right?
Yeah, I call it Xmas.
That makes it not... Okay, great.
But
okay, that's fun.
I don't know.
Anyways, we just had Thanksgiving. And I will have you know that I did my Chandler Thanksgiving.
Great.
I ate grilled cheese and Funyuns. And I don't know if it's the best Thanksgiving I've ever had, but it was the easiest, I will say.
Yeah, I think as we were sitting there eating our Thanksgiving, I was like, man, I wonder what Vanessa is doing right now.
Not cooking, not slaving over the stove, not any of that. My grilled cheese took like 10 minutes, and then I opened a bag of chips, and that was that. I don't know that I will eat it all the time, but it's not terrible.
Did Tim have the same thing for Thanksgiving, or did he do something else?
He did. Since he had to stay home because he was all sick and stuff, he said, I'm not going to ruin your Thanksgiving plans. We'll just eat what you were planning to eat. The only thing is I did make him tomato soup. So he likes tomato soup with his grilled cheese. And so he had that.
That is a superior way.
Tomato soup is disgusting. So I will not be eating that.
What do you put? Besides that, I like to dip my grilled cheeses in ketchup if I don't have tomato soup.
I mean, it's the same. So yeah, I don't like tomato soup. I do like ketchup, but normally my go-to side for grilled cheese is actually chips and salsa, and I dip my grilled cheese in the salsa, but also tomato based.
Interesting. It's like a cold soup.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like. I think tomato soup is too tomatoey for me.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah. But yeah, so we did do that. Did you make a full Thanksgiving meal?
Yes, I did. Yes. So Ethan was home. And of course Mike. So I made when I went to Kroger to get the turkey, I was like, I'll just get the littlest turkey they have because it's only 2 people. The smallest turkey they had was 14 pounds. So
okay.
So I had to make a 14-pound turkey, and then I made all the sides. And I have to tell you, I love green bean casserole so much. It is my favorite. So I made a bunch of that. Sorry.
This is a random comment, but I heard Tim talking to somebody on the phone today, and they said that their favorite Thanksgiving side is green bean casserole. And I was like, hey, so is Nicole's.
Yes. Maybe we could put that in our post. Like, which Thanksgiving side is your favorite? And
It'll be a little late by the time this goes up, but that's okay.
Eh.
I will always be interested in what your favorite food is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did all the things for Thanksgiving sides, and Ethan helped me make an apple pie from scratch.
Okay.
And all I had was a deep dish, like pie pan. So it was a deep dish apple pie. And Ethan did a spectacular job filling every single nook and cranny with apples. Like, it was so packed full of apple that when I went to pour, because I make like a brown sugar filling to put on it, I went to like pour that in and it wouldn't go down into the pie. So,
you have to leave some air bubbles, Ethan.
Right. So I was just like, F it. And I just poured it over the top and let it sit for a little and like shook it a bit. And then I was like, maybe we should put this on top of like, put like a baking sheet under it. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Good thing we did. It was like, I opened it up and it was just overflowing with brown sugar.
All the juices just coming out.
Yeah.
Did it taste delicious though? Oh,
it was great. Oh yeah. It was delicious. It got eaten very fast.
I bet.
So
yes. I think I'm going to go more traditional foods for Christmas and actually make Tim like a real meal and some desserts and stuff. And yeah, Thanksgiving grilled cheese was a one-time thing.
Yeah, you just try it out, see if it works.
Exactly.
You figured out that it's not for you, and that's fine.
I don't think that I will be doing a apple pie from scratch, but I'm sure I could come up with some other pie I could make, but from scratch is not really up my alley.
Yes, I usually reserve it for special occasions. And, I mean, we had a little bit of time, and Ethan was home, and whatever. So,
did he get to spend the whole week with you?
Mostly. He was home for like 5 days. Okay. So he just left this morning.
Excellent.
So, yeah. As a side note, just a thought about, I guess, Thanksgiving is I have a friend who every Thanksgiving Day, instead of wishing me Thanksgiving, she texts me to ask if I still have a house.
What?
Because, like one time you almost burn your house down one time with a Thanksgiving turkey and you never live it down.
That's fair. Yeah.
So now every single year, instead of like wishing me happy Thanksgiving, she texts me and she's like, "Did you burn your house down with a turkey?"
Do you still have a home? I'm glad because you just sold it.
Yeah. Well, I think I told you this already, but Mike wanted to do like a deep fried turkey, and I was like, "Sir, not a month before we're about to sell this house."
Yeah, exactly. We're literally in escrow right now. We cannot fuck this up.
Like, no deep fried turkeys this year. Next year, I will allow it.
Yeah.
Under supervision.
That's right.
But not this year. So.
Oh, I think that's a good rule. I'm glad you made this rule.
Yeah.
So you almost burned your house down?
Yeah, one time.
Okay.
Yeah, what was it? The pan that my turkey was cooking in broke, and all the turkey juices exploded in the oven. So when I opened the oven was like, "Fire!" And I was like,
No. Were you eating turkey at this time?
I don't know. Okay. I can't remember. It's been probably 5 or 6 years now, I feel like. So
I was going to say, I don't know if it's worse if you were making a turkey and you weren't even going to get to eat it, or if you were making it for you to eat as well.
Yes.
I feel like one of those is worse.
One of them. Yeah. It's also the reason that I cook turkeys in those oven bags now. So if the container breaks again, at least the juices
are captured
by the bag. So I learned. But
that's a great way to learn that lesson. I don't think I will ever make a turkey. I never have, never want to. I feel like there will have to be very extreme circumstances in which I will be making a turkey. And so far I cannot come up with any of those circumstances. So we'll see if that ever happens.
Somehow you get put on like a baking show or a cooking show or something.
Right.
Like, you have to make a turkey.
No. I would immediately get kicked off. They would just be like, "Ma'am, why are you here?" Yes. But for my snack this week, I think I'm just gonna use Funyuns. I feel like I ate a lot of food, but over the whole week. But I want to use something from Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing because I did make a lot of stuff. I even made, what did I make? I even made like cinnamon rolls, like scratch, and I made obviously that pie, and we made cookies and all this other stuff. But I think I'm just gonna go with green bean casserole.
I'm glad you did. I was gonna say you should do that one.
So now I just have to decide if I want to do it, my rating system, by individual green bean or full like casseroles.
No. Well, I guess it depends on if you really like the book. You could say it gets like 5 casseroles. If you didn't, you could say it got 2 little green beans.
Okay, well, spoiler alert. I guess we're going with individual green beans.
Oh no.
So
okay, great. Do you want to tell me about your books first?
I can.
Okay.
I do have one, I guess if you want to call it book news.
Tell me.
I was doing some Googling today and I started laughing. But so I'll start off by saying I've never read Wicked.
Okay. Even though you were supposed to.
Even though I was supposed to. But I've never read Wicked, and I've been reluctant to do so because I've heard from many people that I trust that it's a terrible book. So I've been kind of putting it off. Well, today I saw that a whole bunch of like parents are going to social media and they're losing their minds because they're like, do not let your children read Wicked. Because I guess they re-released the Wicked cover for the movie.
Of course they did.
And so all of these people are going out and buying the book because they think it's based on the movie. And I guess it's not. I've never read it, so I'm interested to hear if anybody's seen the movie and read the book, how close they are.
Yeah.
But I guess the book has some, I'm air quoting because this is what social media says, has graphic sex scenes. To include bestiality.
Wow.
And people have been letting their children read these books because they think it's based on the movie.
Because Ariana Grande's
on the cover. So.
Oh no.
Like I said, I've never read the book. I don't know how solid this information is. I only saw it on a couple like social media posts and I was like, oh my goodness, I have to share this.
Oh no, that's unfortunate. Okay, well now I really want you to read it because I want you to tell me to tell me about it.
I'm gonna go visit my sister this weekend, and I know she's read it, so I'm gonna ask her.
Yes.
See if I can get out of it.
Oh yes. Before you tell me about your books, I actually found something in my Googling today as well.
Okay.
I was, randomly looking at reviews for Skyshade, and just really to see if everyone else disliked it as much as I did. And in my searching, I found that the author, Alex Astor, also has aphantasia.
Oh, wow.
I guess she's been quoted as saying like she can't see the scenes as she's writing them. And so there was a couple of like mean comments out there that were like, it makes so much sense now. But I mean, I guess kind of, because to me, I feel like I couldn't really see the like battle scenes as she was like writing them in the second one and the third one. But I feel like as someone with aphantasia, that she would find different ways to like explain it versus how like somebody who can vividly see the scene play out. I don't know, it just feels like she should have written it differently then. It didn't come off as someone who understands what it's like to read.
Right. Like
that.
she wrote it to the masses instead of, well, I wonder if she had like, I guess in that case, I wonder if she had help.
Maybe.
More like publishing or editing help in there.
Well, if she did, they were not looking at everything, because I pointed out a couple of editing things when we did our review. And then in my reading of other people's reviews, there were a bunch of things that I didn't catch that were like needed to be edited. And this book is in desperate need of a really good editor. So
that's so weird.
Yeah. So anyways, fun news is that I don't think I've ever seen another author or an author that had aphantasia. So, okay, now tell me about your books.
Okay.
Do it now.
Faster. So I'm going to talk first about a book that I DNF'd last night. And it was the last straw. And the only reason I straight up DNF'd it is, one, because we're at the end of the year. I know I'm not going to come back to it.
Yeah.
But it's called The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams.
Okay.
It has pretty good reviews. A lot of people though said that the first half is pretty slow. I 100% get that.
Okay.
But so I finished both my books this week by Tuesday.
Oh.
And so I started this book Tuesday.
Okay. How much did you give it?
I got to 100 pages, like 118 pages.
Okay.
So I've been working on 100 pages for 5 days. And the reason I haven't gotten further is literally every time I pick up this book and start reading it, I fall asleep.
That is not a great sign.
And at first, like the first 2 nights, because I can read before I go to bed, the first 2 nights, I was like, it's because I'm tired.
Sure.
I have taken my magnesium. I'm totally chill. So I was like, I'll sit in a chair in my living room.
Okay.
While like my family is watching football, and I fell asleep again.
So it's not being sleepy.
Yeah, I don't know. So I took a nap, and then the next day I tried to read it in the chair again, and I fell asleep. Like, I didn't fully fall asleep, but as I was nodding off, Mike reached over and like grabbed my foot and wiggled my foot. He's like, don't go to sleep. And I was like, I have to get up. I have to stop reading this book.
I can no longer read this book.
So I continued to try.
Okay.
I was like, I have to get, like,
you're persistent.
I have to get into this book because everybody says that the second half is awesome.
Okay.
So it's like, I have to get into the second half of the book. And I've decided if it's taking me 5 days to get 100 pages in, I will literally never finish this book.
No. I feel like the second half would literally have to be the greatest thing you've ever read in your life for it to make up for the 5 naps you took.
I know. So, yeah. So like I said, immediately, I just went straight to DNF for that book.
That's fair.
So I wasted 5 nights on that book.
Okay.
But luckily, I finished 2 books this week before I stepped into that book. So the first one I'm going to talk about is called Valley of Dragons by Christina Baehr.
Okay.
I read it on my Kindle. It's a fantasy. This is number 5 in the Secrets of Ormdale series. It's the last book.
Number 5.
I know. So I talked about episode 4. I talked about book 4 in episode 3. So there is a review for book 4 earlier.
Okay.
That one's probably not as coherent as this one's going to be. But I also, book 3, I reviewed on Instagram before we started the pod. And then books 1 and 2 I read before we started this whole adventure.
Endeavor.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So just for backstory for everybody, is there's a girl named Edith, and her family learns that they've inherited a house. And so they all pack up and they decide they're going to go out for a visit, where they find out that this property also comes with dragons. Yes. So there's a whole bunch of wild dragons living on this property. And during this time, they find out that Edith is what they're calling a Marcy. And Marcy is a rare person who is immune to the venom of dragons.
I remember.
Yes.
Okay.
So all the dragons in this world have venom. If they bite you, you'll die.
Okay.
Right? So the first 2 books are her learning about her dragon legacy, and she's just dealing with like dragon related problems. The 3rd book, she's learning that there are others like her. She's learning that there are other families who own property that have dragons. And she goes to visit another family, and there is some light kidnapping.
Okay. Great. I love that explanation.
Yes. And then book 4, there's more kidnapping, and Edith is now trying to fix the problems from all the books, because they've now started to pile up and layer on top of each other. So she's trying to fix all of these things. So nothing has really been fixed to the end of book 4. She still has all the same problems. She just understands dragons a little bit better.
Okay.
So in this book, the last book, it's just more of, she's wrapping up all of these problems that I talked about earlier from the last 4 books, and she's basically getting to her happily ever after. So that's about, I feel like that's all I could tell without giving out spoilers. It's not really a book that I think you can go back and read the 5th and, you know, read it and understand what's going on.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so thoughts on this book. I thought Edith had a lot of character growth in this book, probably more than the other 4 books combined. Maybe? Okay. Yeah, so a lot of character growth.
That's big. Yeah.
Yeah. Some things that I guess I didn't like so much is there's a love interest, and he spends the first half of the book like throwing up roadblocks, basically. Okay. Like reasons why they can't be together, which are, you know, valid to him.
Is it a new love interest for book 5, or have we met him in the past?
So you meet him in book 1.
Okay.
He's a major player in book 2. In 3, he has a minor role. In 4, he's completely missing. And in 5, he comes back.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Yeah. So he comes back, and there's some roadblocks to why they can't. He's putting up. He's saying, I can't be with you for these reasons. And then about halfway through the book, he's like, you know what? We could be together. It's just.
None of what I said really matters.
Right. I was like, okay. Sure. So
this kind of goes along with your, like when you have the problems with the magic that just like all of a sudden you have this ability. Now it's kind of the same with the relationship. Like all of a sudden these things don't matter.
Right. You know what? Maybe it's not as big of a deal as I thought. So yeah, it felt like because Christina Baehr, the author, was trying to wrap up the book or the series, there's no really new problems. Any new problems were very minor. You didn't really have to worry about them. And all the problems from the earlier books just like wrap up easily and conveniently. Okay. It actually turned out to be like more of like a cozy read than I would say anything else. I didn't have any major reasons to mark this book down. But like I said, it was an easy read. I just felt like Everything was super convenient.
Yeah.
I don't want to say taking the easy way out, but just wrapping up the book to wrap up the book. Everybody gets their happy ending. It was okay.
Yeah. You feel like you need something, right? Like you need something to happen. And obviously you can't have a major like thing happen that you're going to have to try to wrap up now along with everything else, but give me something.
Yeah, I don't know how I would have done it better if I was her.
Okay.
I felt like it was just everything that they had been doing in the first 4 books, they had to rush to wrap up in this last book. And so the book was 500 pages.
Oh,
so she had a lot to get through, right? I did find out from this reading the ending of this book that Christina plans to write more books in this world.
Okay.
But cool. From the point of view of Edith's relatives. Okay. So other characters that you meet in this one, I think they're going to have their own stories told. So are you intrigued by those, or do you not care about them? It depends on who they are.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple that I like, and I would like to hear what happens to them, but I don't think it's going to be them.
Okay.
So
dang it.
Yeah. I gave this one, I don't know, 3 to 4 green beans.
Okay. Just individual green beans?
Individual green beans. Okay. The second book. So the second book I read is The Island God. This one is by Sarah Painter. It's a Kindle. Okay. It's fantasy, or I read it on the Kindle. It's a fantasy. So this is also a series book.
Okay.
The last of the series. It's number 3 of the Unholy Island series. Number 2, I reviewed it in Instagram before we started the podcast. So that also has a review, but it's probably incoherent at this point. So,
all right.
So, okay, backstory for this book too. There's an island, and this island is a haven for people who are not quite, quote unquote normal.
Okay.
And if you are not one of the, 10 people who live on the island, who have been invited to live on the island, you can only stay for 2 days. After 2 days, like, the island, through magic, like, kind of encourages you to leave for some reason. And also, each person is different. It's not like it's a bad thing. It's just like, you might all of a sudden get like a urge, like, oh my gosh, I have to get back home because I feel like I left something on, or
it's not like a mean thing that's like, get out of here. It's like, all of a sudden I feel like I have to not be here.
Right. Like, I really miss my puppies and I really want to go home. Okay. It encourages you to leave, but not for menacing reasons, right?
Okay. Interesting.
And after you leave, it also helps you forget that you were there.
Ooh.
So that's what helps it become like a haven for people who are trying to hide from the rest of the world. So
hold on. Did you say if you are invited to the island, then you can stay for longer than the 2 days?
If you're invited to live there.
Okay.
And the only way you can be invited to live there is if somebody dies.
Oh.
So like the 10 people who live on that island, if one of them passes away, then somebody new will show up and the island will let them stay longer than 2 days.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So there's 2 main characters in this book.
The island chooses who gets to have it as its haven? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. So there's 2 main characters in this series. The first one is Esme. Esme is what I was calling her. Okay. So she is the island's ward witch, and that's actually what book 1 is called, is the ward witch, and it focuses mostly on her. And then the second point of view, if you want to call it, is a guy named Luke, and he joins the island community in book 1. That's how you find out all the history about the island and how like somebody has to pass away in order for a new person to show up. So book 1 is the story of Luke joining the island community, and you also get some history about all the characters and specifically Esme. Book 2 is more island problems. And while these island problems are happening, Esme and Luke are working through their feelings for each other.
Okay.
Very YA feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And then book 3, which is this book, The Island God, is Luke's history is catching up with him. So his past issues are catching up with him. And then also one of the island residents goes missing, which opens up a spot in the island for maybe evil to move in.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're... Oh no. Okay, I have so many thoughts.
I know.
Because the island would know if they were dead or not, right? So then if the island is inviting somebody new in, then that means the person that is missing is not just missing, but they're dead.
Maybe.
That's what I would take from it.
That's what you should probably take from it based off of my description.
Yeah.
But yes.
Okay.
So
is it a trilogy or is there more?
Nope, it's just a trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So everything wraps up at the end of this book.
Okay.
So my thoughts on this book. The villain in this book is very low threat.
Okay.
The evil that I talk about.
Mm-hmm.
This is another book where I felt like it was like a cozy read because one, it wrapped up really painlessly.
All right.
It was just like, oh, the problem is over because I say it's over. And I mean, the evil was, I guess, dangerous, but it didn't really it didn't get to the point where it was like, oh man, this is super dangerous for everybody. Okay, so there were a lot of plot devices in this book that just seem to, they're not explained. Like, why did this happen? Why, okay. What was the purpose of these things, these actions happening? They're never explained. They're just there to progress the story.
Right.
So you just kind of have to trust the process and accept what the author is telling you,
mm-hmm.
that this is just a thing. But it's never explained why or anything like that.
Well, so I don't love that.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan.
Okay.
So like I said, those were really the only two things that I could come up with where I was like, I didn't really have any other reasons to knock it down. All the characters were fine. But it was just like a completely average, low threat, cozy book. And I think this week I just probably wasn't in the mood for that as much. So I actually rated it the same as my first book, and I said 3 to 4 green beans.
Okay.
So
I feel like 4 is still a fairly high rating.
Yeah, I didn't want to knock it down because there's nothing wrong with the book, really. It's just
okay. It's your
yeah.
It's your own anxieties that are like, I can't give it less.
Well, and I don't even know if I would say that. I just don't have any strong feelings towards the book, so I don't know if it's my week or it's the book, right? So
yeah, that's fair. Okay.
So yep, that's it. Those are my books.
Okay. I have one for you. Can
I ask, is this the book from last week that you didn't talk about? Okay.
And if you want to know all of my secrets, I did finish another book this week, but I'm not talking about it today. I'm saving it.
Okay.
Okay. It's called All the Dangerous Things. One of the reasons why I wanted to save this one is because it was a sister book club, and I wanted to talk to her before I talked about it on here. So yes, All the Dangerous Things. Stacy Willingham is the author. It is a mystery thriller. It is actually the last book that I listened to on Everand.
Oh.
I have officially canceled my subscription. So
Smart.
yes. It's just over 10 hours, so it's not like a super long one, but 10 hours. But it did win in 2023, so last year, it won the Goodreads Award for Mystery Thriller. So there's that. So it is about this woman named Isabel. Her son, Mason, was taken from his crib as a baby while her and her husband slept in the next room. And the whole book kind of follows her like journey of trying to find Mason. So it kind of is, the book is taking place a year after the disappearance, kidnapping, whatever. You don't actually know what happened to him until the very end. So but it's a year after that, and the whole book is kind of telling the story of what happened within that year. Like her and her husband ultimately split just from the like trauma and all of that of your child being taken. And then there's also a lot of flashbacks of when she was a kid. So some of her childhood. Basically, so she's a very unreliable narrator. Because she doesn't even know some things that are going on, because she's had a very difficult time sleeping basically in this last year. She's got little like cat naps here and there, and she also has some blackouts that she has where she doesn't know what happened, but basically her brain is like full trauma from her son being taken and lack of sleep. Right. So literally has no idea what's going on in any given moment. And so you can't really trust her or her memories or like things like that. Basically, she's like never given up hope to find Mason. So in this, she goes to like crime cons and stuff like that and like talks to them and like tries to keep the story alive just in case there's any new clues or anything. And she ultimately ends up hooking up, I mean like just starts working with this true crime podcaster. Okay. She meets him at at one of the crime cons that she was at, and he wants to help her figure out what happened. And so these blackouts that she's having now also used to happen to her as a kid. So you kind of learn some of that, of like some blackouts that she had as a kid of like, I feel like it's more sleepwalking as a child, but sleepwalking in situations where she doesn't remember what happened. So she'll be back in bed and be like, why is this here? Why are my feet dirty? Or like, why do I have my shoes on? You know, like something like that. So for some of the book, there's a thought of maybe she did something to Mason because she doesn't remember some things. So yeah, it's all from her point of view, but it's a dual timeline. So you get her point of view for the past and the present. Okay. And yeah, there were quite a few twists in this, obviously, as a mystery thriller. Some I saw coming and some I did not. Okay. Specifically for the audiobook, I would say the narrator, I really liked how she did very distinct voices between like adult Isabel and child Isabel. Her male voices weren't great. They kind of all sounded the same. So if there was more than one male in the conversation, it was really hard to figure out which one of them was actually talking.
Yeah, I hate that.
I mean, and it's true too if they don't change the voice for the female, right? It's all the same. But in this specific case, yeah, I don't know why. I wrote a note that says I heard someone behind me, and I don't know what that means. So I just want to tell you.
It may or may not be important.
Who could say? Um, so, all of my other thoughts are spoilery because they all have to do with the twist. So I will put it in Goodreads as as a hidden whatever. I really enjoyed it. I ended up rating it 3.5 Funyuns. It was definitely not a 5-star. I don't know what else was on the nominee list for 2023, but for me, I wouldn't have voted this as a winner.
Wow.
Just because it was interesting. I enjoyed it. I liked some of the twists, but I think ultimately at some point I kind of got fed up with her not knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point I was just like, okay, you either need to go to sleep and recharge your brain,
right,
or something needs to happen to where we can trust you, because even as she starts figuring things out, it's still really hard to trust her. Is this actually true? Is this actually what's happening? Or are you just making this story up in your head?
Did she, I mean, if this is too spoilery, but is there a reason she, I know you said oh, she just doesn't sleep well. Is there, did they ever give a reason why she's never I don't know, went and got help with that? Or...
So she does. She sees a therapist. They tried to give her sleeping pills and all of that, and it just didn't work. So I don't know. I don't know. But some of it's a little difficult too, because you're trying to figure out is it the same problem she had as a child where she was sleepwalking, or is she literally it sounds like as an adult she's just literally not sleeping. Or she'll try to sleep and she just kind of lays there with her eyes wide open. So I don't know. I feel a little bit of that for me is just okay, let's move on. Let's something else. I did like the storyline with the podcaster. There's I think there's some unreliableness there too that kind of lends to some of the mystery, which is fun. I think overall I really enjoyed it. So the 3.5, but it's definitely not a higher rating for me. So
well, that's too bad. We had all average books this week.
Yeah, we did. Okay, and my sister had rated it the same. She had all the same thoughts as me on it.
Interesting.
So sometimes I like to talk to her first because I want to know if I need to steal any of her thoughts.
That's a valid reason.
Yes. In this case, she had no new thoughts. They were all the same. So whatever. All right. Well, that's it for me. Do we want to do our question?
Yes.
Okay. Do you listen to music or background noise while reading, or do you like it to be silent?
You have thoughts?
Okay. I have some.
Okay.
Do you want me to do?
I was gonna say I think I do too, but it's up to you if you want to go first or not.
So really my only thoughts are if I'm choosing what the noise is, I choose silence. But if there is noise, I can usually read and it doesn't bother me. So, but my active choice is that I don't want any background noise or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah. I guess when you say it like that, I agree.
Okay.
If I had to choose, I'd rather it be quiet. At least, I mean, if I can hear the TV through the wall or something muffled or whatever, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to choose something to listen to, I mean, I don't know, classical or
Yeah, that's
jazz
what
or
I would.
something. Yeah.
Something instrumental.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
instrumental. That's better. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'll watch sports.
Okay.
I'll watch. I'll watch sports in the back, or listen to sports in the background.
Yeah.
I guess is probably a better term. Just be like things like hockey or baseball, where you don't really have to pay attention and there's not a lot of scoring going on, so you're not really missing anything. So I can have that stuff on while I'm reading.
Yeah, I've had plenty of time where I've sat on the couch while Tim was playing video games and I'll read. And so like that doesn't usually bother me. Sometimes if he's playing online and he's talking a lot to people, I get distracted by his random comments that he's making. But for the most part, like I can tune him out pretty well.
Yeah. The people who can read and hear others talking is almost like a superpower to me. Because I know I'm diverging from reading. Well, reading gets jumbled around or whatever, and I know this is not quite the same, but if I'm trying to type or write things down and I hear people talking, I almost start to end up annotating what they're saying instead of what I'm thinking. Whatever I hear overrides what I hear in my brain. So it's kind of the same. Yeah.
Right, where you just start thinking that you're reading what you're hearing instead of what you're seeing.
Exactly. Yeah, super distracting. So, yeah, but I think I agree with yours. I prefer silence. I think I've heard before, whether it's true or not, I don't know. I've never done research on it. It's just something that I happen to hear, is that if you are going to listen to music while you're studying, or whatever you want to retain the information, you don't want to listen to music that your brain already knows. Yeah. Or is familiar with. So that's why most people say classical or jazz or something. You don't want your brain to be able to make patterns out of it.
Yeah, that's actually really true. So there's on Pandora, there's a instrumental station that you can choose, but it's instrumental of top 40 hits. And so sometimes it'll for the most part, if it's just in the background, it's not while I'm reading, but it'll be while I'm working or something like that. I need something to focus on. And for the most part, it can just play, but every once in a while there's a song that plays and I'm I know this song, and the words will just pop into my head and I'm shit, that doesn't help me.
This is not what I wanted.
No, this is the opposite of what I want. So yes, that is, I could definitely see how you need it to be music that you don't know.
Right.
Because as soon as I catch on to it, I'm just whoop, my brain's gone.
Yes. And now I have that song in my head. And, yep. Though I automatically defaulted to like I said, jazz or something like that. But I always, someday I'm going to try it with scream music.
Just metal?
Like death metal. Just that's what I want to try it with. See if that does anything. The same.
What are your predictions? Do you think that'll...
I think I'll probably be too focused on the music because I've never heard anything like that before, whereas classical music, I've heard classical music before.
Right.
I feel like maybe before I put it to the test, I might have to put in some hours listening to some rage music, just so.
I feel like that would just I feel like it would take my brain in a different direction. I would just want to jump around or something and not focus on work that I'm doing.
Exactly. I'd just probably be giggling the whole time, ooh. So I don't know.
This doesn't sound like the best plan, but I support it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Because I'm gonna try it.
Okay, so. Great. I can't wait to hear the outcome of this. Okay, well, if you listeners have music or sounds that you listen to while you're reading and you feel like it helps you, then share that so that we could try it out. Go to our website, savorthestorypod.com. Yes, that's correct. Go to our contact form and send us an email on either this topic or any other book or snack related topic that you should so desire. Also, we've got the Breaking Dawn next, so any Twilight related things that you want to send or have thoughts on, send us those before we record that episode. Any recommendations that you have, all the things. And then go to Savor the Story Pod on Instagram and, talk to us there. All the places. You can find us everywhere. Savor the Story Pod. That's the end. Oh, give us 5 stars.
Yes. And thumbs ups, depending on your listening platform.
I almost forgot. For some reason, I see that Apple Podcasts is where it means the most. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, comment and 5 stars, because that means Apple will push us out to other listeners.
Yes, thank you.
So do it, please. Okay, the end.
Okay, now we're going. Goodbye.
Okay,
Get
bye.
out of here. Okay, so I was going to tell you what I had for lunch today.
Okay.
I had a piece of pumpkin pie.
That's a great lunch.
Yes.
So
I ate it. I scarfed it down right before a meeting. So
Mike leaves and you immediately don't have real food for your meal.
yeah, I think we've established now that I am a child.
Yes.